Welcome to Know It All, a place to connect with researchers to answer all questions on health, science, technology, business, culture, and more. This episode on What Do We Know About Egyptian Hieroglyphs was created for you by SED. In this topic, Know It All will answer: what are Egyptian hieroglyphs? What is the structure of the hieroglyphs? What is the writing system of the hieroglyphs? What is the meaning of hieroglyphs? How were hieroglyphs used? How have hieroglyphics been deciphered? Egyptian hieroglyphs are one of the most intriguing and fascinating ancient writing systems that has captivated people's imaginations for centuries. Hieroglyphs were used by the ancient Egyptians for religious texts, funerary inscriptions, and historical records. The decipherment of hieroglyphs has provided us with valuable insights into ancient Egyptian culture, religion, and history. The ancient Egyptian language had a relatively small vocabulary compared to modern languages, with only around 750 hieroglyphs used in everyday writing. However, the language was rich in symbolism and metaphor, and the meaning of words could vary depending on the context in which they were used. The ancient Egyptian language was used for a wide variety of purposes, including religious texts, funerary inscriptions, and historical records. The language was used to write down stories, poems, and songs, as well as legal and administrative documents. Hieroglyphs are made up of a combination of signs that represent both sounds and ideas. These signs can be divided into two categories: phonetic and ideographic. Phonetic signs represent sounds, while ideographic signs represent ideas or concepts. The phonetic signs were used to spell out words, while the ideographic signs were used to convey the meaning of a word or concept. The phonetic signs included single consonants and vowels, as well as combinations of consonants and vowels. The ideographic signs included images of people, animals, plants, and other objects. Each hieroglyphic sign was made up of different elements. The most basic element of a hieroglyphic sign was the stroke, which was used to form the outline of the sign. Hieroglyphs could be composed of one or more strokes, and the placement and direction of the strokes could change the meaning of the sign. Hieroglyphs could also include other elements, such as determinatives, which were signs that helped to clarify the meaning of a word. For example, the determinative for a bird might be added to a hieroglyph that represented a bird to clarify that the word being represented referred to a bird. The hieroglyphic writing system was used on a variety of surfaces, including stone, clay, and papyrus. The tools used for writing hieroglyphs included reed pens and brushes. The hieroglyphs were usually written from right to left or from left to right, depending on the direction of the text. There were several types of hieroglyphic scripts used by the ancient Egyptians. The most formal type of script was the monumental script, which was used for inscriptions on stone and other permanent surfaces. This script was characterized by large, bold hieroglyphs that were carefully engraved into the surface. Another type of script was the cursive script, which was used for writing on more everyday surfaces such as papyrus. This script was less formal than the monumental script and was characterized by smaller, more rounded hieroglyphs. The hieratic script was a cursive form of hieroglyphic writing that was used for religious texts, administrative documents, and literary works. This script was used on papyrus and was characterized by smaller, more flowing hieroglyphs. Hieroglyphs could convey a wide range of meanings, from concrete objects and ideas to more abstract concepts. One of the key features of hieroglyphs is their ability to convey multiple meanings through the use of phonetic and ideographic signs. For example, the hieroglyph for the word sun could be represented by a picture of the sun itself, or it could be represented by a combination of phonetic and ideographic signs that spelled out the word sun. Similarly, the hieroglyph for the word water could be represented by a picture of a wave, or it could be represented by a combination of phonetic and ideographic signs. Hieroglyphs were used for a wide range of purposes in ancient Egyptian society. One of the most important uses of hieroglyphs was for religious texts. The ancient Egyptians believed that hieroglyphs had magical properties and that they could be used to communicate with the gods. Hieroglyphs were used to write down prayers, hymns, and religious texts that were used in temples and other religious ceremonies. Funerary inscriptions were another important use of hieroglyphs. The ancient Egyptians believed in an afterlife and believed that it was important to be properly prepared for the journey to the afterlife. Hieroglyphs were used to write down spells and incantations that were believed to help the deceased navigate their way into the next world. Historical records were also an important use of hieroglyphs. The ancient Egyptians were a highly organized society, and they kept detailed records of their history and culture. Hieroglyphs were used to write down the names of kings and queens, as well as important events in the history of the country. Hieroglyphs were also used in art and architecture. Hieroglyphs were used to decorate the walls of temples and other buildings, and they were used to create elaborate reliefs and sculptures. The ancient Egyptians believed that hieroglyphs had a powerful aesthetic appeal, and that they could be used to create beautiful works of art. The decipherment of hieroglyphs was a long and complex process that took many years. The process began in the 17th century when scholars first began to study hieroglyphs, but it was not until the early 19th century that significant progress was made. One of the key breakthroughs in the decipherment of hieroglyphs came in 1799 when a French soldier named Pierre-François Bouchard discovered the Rosetta Stone in Egypt. The Rosetta Stone was a large, inscribed stone that contained the same text in 3 different scripts: hieroglyphs, Demotic script, and Greek. This allowed scholars to compare the hieroglyphic script with the Greek script, which was already well understood. The decipherment of hieroglyphs was finally achieved in 1822 by a French scholar named Jean-François Champollion. Champollion used the Rosetta Stone as well as other inscriptions and texts to decipher the hieroglyphic script. Champollion's work provided us with a much greater understanding of ancient Egyptian culture, religion, and history. Egyptian hieroglyphs are a fascinating and complex writing system that has provided us with a valuable window into ancient Egyptian culture and history. Thank you for listening. For more answers to questions on health, science, technology, business, culture, and more, don't forget to subscribe to Know It All.